you've had the bar, Dave, and then you're also very, very heavily involved in Manchester Rum Fest. Do you kind of want to talk a little bit about what that actually is, kind of where the idea came from and how it came to be?
Yeah, so Rumfest is just me. There's nobody else. There's no team, shall we say. Not saying there won't be in the future, but at the moment, it's quite nice to have something that's just mine. Because in the past, like the Pisano bar, that Italian cafe that I mentioned before, was me and a friend of mine called Nick. Pardon me. Also, the shop at the time was myself, Del, and Emma. So it was quite nice at that similar time to just have something that was just me. And saying that, the reason why Rumfest was created was because we never had one before. You know, London's the biggest, and I think it's 10 years, if not a little bit longer now, that Ian's been doing it for. Lucy Douglas has got the travelling Rumfest. If you hit cities like Chester, and obviously Leeds have got theirs from Sam Fish. I think it was 5 years for them now, something like that. So it kind of got me thinking, you know, obviously, I think I was talking to a friend of mine called Tom, who mentioned, has Manchester got a Rumfest? I was like, no, but why haven't we got a Rumfest? I actually went to see Lyndon Dickinson, obviously owners of Lions Club, if no one knows. Because he is, in my mind, the guy who is rum in Manchester. You know, he owns Lions Club, Ain't It Great, with Lions Lounge at the top. You know, he's been to the Caribbean more times than I care to imagine. He's island hopped on islands I've never even heard of before, you know, things like that. But I need to ask him, A, have we ever done one? B, has he ever thought of doing one himself? And C, if not, can I do one? And he said, I've never thought of it, but feel free, go ahead. You know, if I can help out, I will, sort of thing. So I did. I actually went to Revs to Cuba and said to a guy called Greg, I want to host a Rumfest. It would make sense for me to host it here on the downstairs bit of Revs to Cuba have. Mainly because it'll add a bit of legitimacy to what I'm trying to do. I know people can deride Revs to Cuba sometimes, but from Manchester's point of view, I don't know where else. They're lacking places to host anything like this. We really are. You know, we haven't got the warehouses of Liverpool anymore, shall we say. So, basically, it was, 2017? Yeah, 2017. First one. It was actually, it'll be 4 years tomorrow. It's on the 3rd of June, day before my birthday. Raise a toast to myself. Happy birthday and for Rumfest.
happy Rumfest birthday.
Happy Rumfest birthday. But I just said, yeah, obviously we'd love to host it. So we thrashed out a deal, and you know, we used their booze, we used their rum barrels, podiums, and I basically just asked, not every single rum brand, but brands that had sort of supported me in the past. You know, the Chairman's Reserve were there, Clement was there as well, Mount Gay with Miguel, he was there, because I remember meeting Miguel years back. I thought, I love your brands. I want to go to Barbados, which I have done since, to check out Mount Gay. Why don't you come to the Rumfest? First ever one. You know, Plantation were there, Foursquare were there, with Dawley's and other brands. I can't think of the names of right now, but there were some great, you know, big time hitters there. I've had a club, Bacardi, as well. And it was great, sold out. Doesn't sound a lot, but 350 people, which is the capacity Revs to Cuba could do for me, all tickets sold out within a week. I was like, wow, this is amazing. You know, I might have done something pretty cool there. So obviously, since then, I've sort of built it up and added more things depending on the venue. The second year was at Manchester Cathedral, so a bit bigger. Slight restriction, obviously, what you can do. It's still a place of worship. It's not the easiest thing to convince everyone to do a piss up in a cathedral. But to be fair, that's the thing. With my Rumfest, I'm going to be careful what I say now. With my Rumfest, it's not that. It's an educational piece of festival. You know, the brands themselves are physically there. You know, Miguel from Mount Gay is there. You've got myself, if I was not running the festival, I would be there with Chairman's Reserve and St. Lucia Distillers. You know, you have Kirsty from Plantation, actually physically there to ask her questions, you know, to gain and respond to the consumers. And it's not just some festivals which I've been to in the past, where you turn up to a table that's got navy rums on it, and then another table's got golden rums. You're thinking, what's golden rum? And they haven't got a clue because they're agency guys who've just been brought in to help out or rum from a guide in a booklet. I want number 4 with Nixon number 2, and that's it. There's no education. So that's the first thing I wanted to make sure. And it is similar to Ian Burrell's, where the brands have to be there if you want to be a part of Rumfest. You've got to have a representation. Whether it's a brand manager, a distiller, an owner, stuff like that. But also having the opportunity to understand how we work from a consumer point of view. You like it, buy the bottle. So we either have retailers on site or they can sell it themselves over at a table. It's essentially a rum market. And it was great for a lot of the newcomers, especially what will happen this year with the British rum rise. Jago from the Orkneys in Scotland. First time they'll ever come to Manchester Rum Fest will be on August 29th. And I've told Colin, bring rum. Bring your rum and raisin tablets so people can enjoy a bit of food and then take it home with them. You may not have any retailers at the moment in Manchester. This is the perfect place to introduce yourself and see what response you get so you can potentially grow into this area. If you have 50 people buying your rum, that's a bloody bonus, that is. So it's things like that, and that's the platform Rumfest is going to offer and is offering right now. And the thing that makes this year different, obviously barring COVID, is the first time they can get outside speakers involved as well. Last year I trialled it. There was actually space to have the guys from Liars Club. So we had Adam Wilson and Rory Burke come over. We had the guys from Turtle Bay with Ollie. And sort of test the water, see how seminars actually work. And there was 2 sessions. So each one of them did, I think, half an hour per session. And it was rammed. 35 people sat down in that auditorium. You couldn't get any more people in there. It's great. It's like, this works. This really does work. People want to sit down and listen to, I think the guys at Turtle Bay were going through some unique cocktails like the rum and tonic. And the guys at Liars Club, I think, went through their new menu. Here's some great ideas to work on. You like them? Why don't you pop over? After this, show your wristband, get 10% off a cocktail, something like that. It's a great platform. That's what Rumfest is all about. And I think from a brand's point of view, not just the original guys, but the new ones. We got the speakers are going to come over this year, or fingers crossed they will still. We've got Montagna Distillers, Karen Hoskin, coming over for the very first time. Montagna, we're going to launch at Rumfest. To have a brand launch themselves at your Rumfest is an amazing opportunity. And it's stuff like that, but I want to have that platform for them to do so. Thanks.
Yeah, I really like the concept because, kind of like what we were saying before with the idea of doing the rum masterclasses and stuff, and the idea that it can seem a bit daunting for someone that's new to it. The idea that you're marketing this not just at rum geeks, but also people that might just hear about it and be interested. The fact that you accommodate to them by, offering up, these people that are really knowledgeable. It's not just someone there, that's there to pour drinks. You've actually got people there that are willing to talk to people. Someone could go up and say, look, I've never really tried anything like this before. What would you recommend as an entry level? You've got people there that can guide them in a responsible and an educated way. And it's quite nice as well because obviously, me personally, I think within hospitality in the rum world, people that I've come across so far, there's almost kind of camaraderie between people because we all basically do the same thing. We've all got the same interests. I can't imagine too many people objecting to the idea of having to come to this festival and represent their brand because they'll come along and they get to do their bit for their brand, and then they also get to meet up with and see everyone else and see what everyone else is doing. And it's just quite nice. There's not an idea there that someone's trying to come in and take a cut. Everyone's doing their own thing. Everyone can sell their own product, share their own product, kind of promote their own brand, and in doing so promote the community and the industry as a whole. I think it's a really nice concept.
Yeah, I've sort of, without realising it, sort of labelled it as the largest gathering of rum in the north. Not just from the brand's point of view, but for the connections and the networking element towards it. I was speaking to, I can't say who they are, but we were talking about a new brand that's looking to come into the UK from a UK producer. And they're asking me, what's my ideas on, how people perceive rum at the moment, the categories, trying to get away from just saying the word golden and dark rum, stuff like that. I said, you know what? At the end of all this, I just said, what are you doing over 29th? And also at the time, they didn't have anything. So why don't you come along to Rumfest and actually see it, live? Yeah, I know it's a Mancunian style. It's not London, but it gives you a really good idea of how the brands represent themselves. Each one's got their own stand. You can do whatever they want within it. Coca-Cola are sponsoring it. They're bringing a box. And when I say a box, it's a big box. It's going to be branded up, neon signed, everything like that. It looks awesome. Dead Man Fingers always have the massive neon sign as well. And it's stuff like that where you can sort of see what you need to do to stand out. As you walk in, what catches your eye straight away. And also, to be fair, if you haven't got that kind of budget, say you're brand new, what do you do to make yourself stand out? So it's a great opportunity just to come along from a brand producer point of view, or an idea of you want to bring your own out, or even from a bar point of view, what brands are making an effort in our area now. It's great for you guys to sort of see, I never thought of them, because you never seen a rep up here. Then you realise they haven't got a rep, but they want to see and test the waters up here. So it's a great expose as well. So many different sort of eyes from a consumer, from a trade, from a new producer point of view, from a journalist as well. What's shaking and baking around here. It's a great all-rounder, which is exactly what Rumfest, in my mind, wants to get across, and not just be defined as, it's a big piss up, or we don't really care, you don't learn anything, or it's too loud because the music is it's like a gig. My music's in the background. It's there to add a bit of atmosphere, but it's not the first thing you think about. The first thing you think about should be rum. That's what you bought a ticket for. So that's exactly what you're going to get. Simple as.
I think we obviously like the lineup. We're really excited about, because it's some of our sort of favourite rums that we really enjoy drinking. In terms of sort of selection process and stuff like that, is it just literally people that you're kind of mates with anyway that kind of will, you're like, oh, do you want to come do this? Do you ask everyone, and some people turn around and tell you to fuck off, or how's it kind of work?
Officially, the way it works, first come, first serve. No matter who you are, everyone pays the same. The cost is essentially the amount of spaces I can get divided by how much it costs me to actually hire that space. So it's a lot cheaper than you'd expect. I won't say how much it is at the moment, because it depends on the venue over the last couple of years. But the exhibitor pays to be there, and that money they pay me goes to the venue. Simple as. I don't make any money off it. The only thing I get is the ticket sales. But even then, the ticket sales pay for the marketing. So I don't, I'm not a millionaire out of all this. I'm nowhere near. I don't intend to be. That's not the idea behind it. But the way that the brands get themselves selected, shall we say, is I do send out an email to as many rum brands that I already have a connection with. Now, I'm not saying I know every single rum brand. I don't. But there's always a new one coming out anyway. Or someone leaves, you don't get the right address, or whatever. I send out a mass email when I've got that date confirmed and all the pricing confirmed and stuff. And the vast majority will get back to me and say, yeah, sounds good, sign us up. I'll send a contract. They send it back. As soon as I have that signed contract, that's space number one gone. I think this year I've got 34 spaces. So essentially, the first 34 contracts I got back, we're in. Anybody after that, they're on a waiting list. And there are brands who are on a waiting list.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting, because obviously, for example, last year, Havana Club missed the cut. And they were like, well, we're Havana. So I understand you're Havana, but I know we've been talking about, doing this amazing idea. But I can't wait for you when I've got 5 more brands who want to get involved as well. Even if you are one of the biggest in the world. So it's the only brutal way I can do it. Probably the only thing that I will say is chairman and sellers distillers are usually the first one signed up. But other than that, it could be anyone.
Is that you signed the contract? Is that why?
No, unfortunately, I can't sign my own contracts. It's literally looked up. But the vast majority of the people you'd expect, your Plantations, your Foursquares, your Mount Gays, your Bacardis, are involved. The one thing I realised this year, though, a lot of the newer brands, especially the British-focused ones, the idea of Rumfest, this is the great sort of domino effect from the PR companies I've used, is that you get the name out there. If you missed out, get yourself involved in 2020. So they get hold of me and say, we want to get involved. How do we get involved? I'm like, oh, awesome. I'm brand new from, the Orkneys, or you're brand new from London, or you're brand new run from Cornwall, or something like that. So it's great for me to see something different. I'm like, well, this is the price. This is what you get from me. If you like it, get this contract back, and you're in. Simple as. And the vast majority did, and they're coming up to North. Jago is a great example. Never been to Rumfest before. It was the same. Never done Rumfest before. Now they are. Arlu was going to launch themselves at Rumfest. It's a local-based Manchester rum from Disbury. The guys who do Disbury gin. Perfect. Yeah, I don't mind who you are, as long as you're legit. You can tell me where your rum comes from.
Yeah.
If it's not, I'm going to have some problems. I want to have some, at least tell me where your rum originates from, or what you're doing to it, and you're not just doing it for the hell of it. You've got a great opportunity.
Yeah, it seems like a very nice mix of sort of like recognisable people and some of these, like you said, like smaller kind of people just starting out in the UK, which is quite nice from like certainly like mine and Jack's point of view. It's quite nice to be able to see that mix all in the same place. Makes it a lot easier for us anyway.
Right. Fingers crossed that the vast majority of that list will still be coming on August 29th as well. There may be one or two differences, but the vast majority will still be there.
Yeah. So how many actual tickets have you sold then? Because I saw recently that you basically sent out an email to everyone that already has a ticket that if they previously purchased one for when the show was initially supposed to be at the start of April, that would basically just be moved on. So if you already had a pre-existing ticket, it'll now be valid for the end of August. But you are kind of like stopping any further tickets being sold now, aren't you? So did you have like a certain? Did you have a certain cap at how many people you could let in and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the venue's got a capacity of I think 700, and obviously that includes the exhibitors themselves, and obviously my staff who I hire for the day. So I have to admit, I can't remember what the initial tickets allocation was that I put to one side, but with obviously everything that's going on, I understand there's people's fears. I have had some emails from ticket holders or potential ticket holders, sorry, what are you going to do regarding large groups and social distancing? Like, I don't know until I get hold of the venue. Fortunately, the guys who are on the venue are all on furlough, so they're not answering. Yeah. So it's a bit of a grey area. And I actually spoke to a friend of mine. She said, look, the only way from an outsider's point of view that she's never been to Rumfest yet. She was going to what is essentially Manchester's first biggest event since lockdown is well, not fully up, I know that, but it will be by August, I'm sure. How the only way I would want to go, even if I have still paid the £30 for the ticket, is knowing and being reassured that I'm not going to be a tin of sardines. So that's a really good point. The venue will have their own restrictions, I'm sure, but I know that if I was going to go to a festival, I don't want to be like this. I'm thinking everyone's not 2 meters away. I'm not even at the busiest stand. I'd rather have a bit more flexibility. So at the moment, we sold 400 tickets. And we had, I think, 150 allocated for promotions. So obviously we've got some competitions. We've got some, well, pretty much all competitions with different publications. We did one with the Boa Media guys who own the likes of Key 103, Century Radio. I don't know what the new names are. I don't listen to radio anymore. But all the big guys, you'll know when you look at the website. I did. Anyway, so there's obviously that allocation. And of course, that 150 includes the guys at Lions Club who would be there to run their stall. And, the guys from Mount Gale come up to theirs. So there was... Well, you know what? If I have to sell more tickets now, and essentially replace the ones who ask for a refund. I can't make August 29th, but I could have made April 4th. How do I go about a refund? Of course, they had a refund. I'm not going to say no to them. I had a 6-week grace period of that, which is obviously now up. So I thought, let's not put the tickets back out on sale to get those back. Let's just cap it as it is. Because, like I say, I'm not making money out of this. I don't want to. It's about a platform for the rum brands themselves. So yeah, there'll be essentially 400 people plus the ticket stores themselves. So it will hopefully look and feel like it's not rammed. But in hindsight, it's also the same amount of people I had. Well, more, because it was 350 for the first year and 400 people for the second year. I'm not less, if that makes sense. It's actually quite similar to previous years. It's just not the maximum amount of people, shall we say, as it would have been. But I don't think that's even an option this year. To fully capitalise on it, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it sounds like a good way to go about it, to be fair. Because as well, if you were to try and sell all the tickets and then the venue does get back to you and you've got a certain limit, you've got to try and reach back out to people to give them refunds, and it's who gets to keep the ticket, who doesn't, and things like that. And if you just kind of keep it to the people that obviously have already got in there and are really, really keen to go, if you've got that kind of core group that are they're interested in showing up, then you've got a lot of the right people that are going to be there, And as you say, it sounds like from year to year, in terms of progression, the volumes of people, it's constantly been stepping up. So it's obviously going in a really good trajectory, And then fingers crossed, after all this incident, hopefully come next year, even more people will be keen to get themselves out there and kind of get in the mix for one thing and another. So hopefully you'll see, and hopefully in bars around the country and around the world, we'll just see big spikes in the near future, once things are a little bit safer for everyone. It'd be nice to get to actually see some people in the flesh again,
Oh, yes. For sure.
I, for one, I'm very excited the fact that it's been moved to August the 29th. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to go. Not so excited about not going to Mexico for 2 weeks, though.
Nobody cares.
Sorry, Mr. St. Luke.
Well said.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't see myself going to the Caribbean this year. Mainly for the lack of money, even if the flights did come back on. Obviously, I've had to be very careful how I spend money the last couple of weeks. Obviously, with the lack of brands giving me the monthly paychecks I would normally get. It's my original idea for a holiday was going to go and check out Trinidad and Martinique. I popped into Martinique last time for a day. I want to actually go and see the distilleries and really check out what Martinique's all about proper. But obviously that idea has gone out the window. So, but for this year, next year could be obviously different things. So,
yeah. Are you paying for us to come with you as well, or?
No.
Run some kind of competition, Dave. Get to
it's Jeremy's house ball for all of a sudden.
I was going to actually ask you how. I know you probably haven't had much chance to do anything with it, obviously, with everything that's happened. But how are you finding having Clement on board now? Are you excited? Is it going to be a lot more interesting for you? Having that extra kind of, because I'm assuming you're looking after it, right?
Yeah. So obviously, I've known Clement for a while. Mainly obviously through Amethyst, who were the original importers.
Yeah.
I don't know how long I had it originally, to be fair. And when Eve was the brand ambassador, Mr. Agricole, as he calls himself now, he actually came to Marigot Bay when it was open and did a full-on tasting, which was great because it's fantastic, I feel. I'm sure you guys would say the same, to actually sit down with just one brand and go through it. From left to right, as the upgrade in profile is, no matter what the age statement or no matter what the price is, it's just really good to geek out a bit. So it was great to sort of have that and to get my head around why Clement is as big as it is, even though it's obviously up against the likes of Trois Rivières, obviously Rum JM as well. And to me, I love Agricole. I love the kind of sugarcane juice element towards it. Obviously, working with Rum St. Bar for several years, it's given me that great insight. And when Alison Bartrop, who got me onto Rum St. Bar in the first place, he gave me, I suppose, a one-on-one what agricole actually is. Not just from the juice point of view, but from the AOCs that Martinique have, to, I suppose, the more traditional processes they have as well, in comparison to obviously a generalised creation of St. Lucia distillers. There's similarities, of course, but there's so much more understanding of the flavour profiles that sugarcane juice can offer that I never would have realised until someone told me. And then with that, I made sure that, right, if that's going to happen, I need to embrace this in a certain way. And that's how I relayed it onto the guys at Emporia when we took it on we agreed to deal at the end of last year. And officially, I spoke to the guys at our conference back in January to say, this is what agricole is in comparison to how long you've been selling St. Lucia distillers for. It's not the same. This is what makes it different. These are the expressions we're bringing in, which is only a select. We're not brought in every single SKU of Clement. We've only brought in the Blanc, the Ambre, which is our sort of go-to house rails, shall we say, and more cocktail-driven ones. To the Calm Bleu at 50%, the Select Barrel, the VSOP, and the syrup. That's it. We could have brought the XO in. We could have brought a lot more high-end products. But at the moment, the way I've seen it, agricole is still a very, very niche subcategory. You've probably seen it yourselves. If you didn't understand from you, Andy, and you, Jack, what agricole is, probably wouldn't sell much at Smugglers at all. Even if he had 50 bottles in the bar, they'd just be gathering dust in the cabinet. So it needs someone to get behind it. So I'm quite happy that when I was told Clement's coming on, which I think I was told back in October, I was like, that's awesome. It'd be great from a northern point of view, because as much as I love Amethyst, they have sometimes lacked a bit of presence in North when it comes to agricole. So I thought it'd be great, and it's great for me to get my teeth sunk into a subcategory that I've not been able to do too much with the likes of St. Bar, because we've not had any bottles to sell since the hurricane 2 years ago. So it's great to sort of get back into that groove of talking agricole again and having some great products behind as well, and different styles within that. We've got the shrub and the Mahina coconut. Clement shrub's a fantastic liquid. It's 40%.
We love the shrub. It's so good.
I had it with tonic a couple of days ago. I'm like, this is awesome. I just want to dunk in a whole orange. I don't even want to have the time to start peeling it. I just want to make it bob in the bottles, right?
Yeah. One of our go-to Mai Tai specs is just lime, orgeat, Appleton 12, or Appleton Rare, and Clement Creole Shrub.
Sorry, Appleton 12. You're supposed to say Chairman's Original.
Well, I mean,
Mai Tai, yeah, Mai Tai.
Do you know what? If you weren't worried about GPs,
that's why you've not been to St. Lucia.
Do you know what would be delicious? Like the 5th edition. Is that the pink one? The 1931. Is that the 5th or the 6th?
Pink's 5th.
It's the 5th.
Yeah, the 5th. The 5th in that with some Creole shrub would be amazing. Amazing Mai Tai. But that's like a bougie.
As soon as Smuggler's Cove reopens, let's do one.
Is that on your company tab, Dave? Because that covers all the bases, right?
See, that's the problem with me, because the company tab is my company tab. I don't get expensive with my clients, unfortunately.
Well, there you go. That's fine. You can treat us, I'm sure. I don't want to buy 4 shots of, probably 6 shots of 1931.
Oh, how do I?
Jackets on you.
Now.
To be fair, I think ours is only like $6.50, a shot, a single, or 6.
For what it is, it's not a bad price at all. All those are really, really good liquors.
Good luck
to be
finding
fair,
it anywhere else.
They're not a badly priced bottle either. It's what, 75 at a push? 80
I've
maybe?
seen it somewhere on offer online. That pink, the 5th edition, the pink one, for like 53 quid or 52 quid.
I was going to say mid-50s, yeah. Seen it before.
Which is insane. Making no money at all.
Idiots.
So is there anything kind of, even though all this is kind of going on worldwide at the moment, it does seem like there's been, rum that has been kind of like on its way to being released, you know. So it's not like everything's just stopped dead in its tracks. There are still like new products making their way to the UK, you know, other places around the world, and just kind of like what is interesting. What in the rum world have you seen recently, or what have you tried, or what brands are you really into? Like, what have you seen that's kind of exciting you at the moment in rum?
Well, I mean, I suppose the fact that rum on a couch, which obviously sort of the sub focus of Rumfest to sort of keep it in people's minds, has actually got a lot of the new rum brands coming out of the woodwork again. So Twin Fin, the guys from Southwestern Distillers who also make Tarquin's gin, they released their spiced rum on last Monday, Bank Holiday Monday. And Tarquin Ledbetter, who's the owner of Southwestern, sent me a bottle, and I actually quite like it. It's nice. I did a rum on a couch on it, you know, to help do something for him. And it was great. It was quite nice. Bottle looked great, turquoise looking bottle. It says recommends a mojito. I'll make a mojito out of that. So, you know, it sounds really good. I can see the flavours working. Other than that, I've not tried anything else that's sort of come out. But in a way, I've given an opportunity with the timing I've had to try things that have come out, say, for Christmas. For example, the Equano rum between Ian Burrell and Richard Seal, that kind of Mauritius Barbadian blend.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. You know, I've never actually sat down and cracked it open. So I did. And it's really nice. It's a beautiful hybrid between two very different countries.
Yeah, so that's definitely one on our hit list for sure. It's just we've not had the opportunity to get a bottle in yet, but it's definitely kind of ticks all the boxes, you know, from the sounds of things anyway. Definitely.
I mean, obviously, from our point of view, from St. Lucia Distillers and Clermont, it's not stopped us from bringing out new products, but I can't say that for everybody else. You know, I can't actually think of anyone off the top of my head who's maybe brought something new out to the big fanfare. You know, I think some may have delayed it for the time being, or if it was already prearranged like ours was, for the Admiral Rodney Officer's release, which is a port cask finish. Beautiful liquid. But I tried actually last year at the distillery itself. I thought, this is going to be stunning, and it really is. That's out this month. As soon as I get the date from Whiskey Exchange, he will be the first to stock it. It's obviously a speciality from a trade point of view as well. That'd be great. And that's always been June. We just didn't know if it could be delayed because of COVID, or if it wasn't going to be much of a difference. Turns out it hasn't from a Whiskey Exchange point of view, because obviously people are still buying stuff online. So
yeah,
whether other brands have sort of had a similar feel, I'm not sure. I wasn't told of anything that was going to come out and hasn't done, or has been delayed, or that I can think of anyway. I don't think of anybody else who've had any highlights who've come out since, say, lockdown. No one really comes to mind. So how about yourself? Has anything come to your mind that you want to try that's been released?
I mean, I'm not just saying this because obviously we're in conversation with you at the moment, but right before we kind of had to go into lockdown, we tried the 2005 Chairman's and was super impressed with that. And the fact that there's quite a lot of different... Chairman's are doing almost like exclusive bottlings, right? Like I know Whiskey Exchange have one, and there's like a handful of others. So...
the massive selection.
Is that the official name of it? Yeah. So where else have got expressions then? Like who else has?
All of them are sold out now, aren't they? Pretty much.
Well, they're limited runs, so we only make how many bottles? I think it depends on the blend that you have. So, for example, if Smuggler's Cove are going to do one, which you should, there's a list of available barrels that we have to offer. Samples, obviously, we say if we're going to do this, I'll get you two in front of me and say these are the actual distillates of those barrels. Let me know which one you think will work for you. Different age statements, different stills. So John Doe 1, this is John Doe number 2, which is a Vendome blend, something like that. And obviously the price that coincides with. You know, the older it is, the more expensive it's going to be, of course. And off that, the first batch that came out last year, we had Royal Mile Whiskey, based in Scotland. They released one. And then the guys at Whiskey Exchange obviously released another one. What the blends were, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to go and get the bottles, actually. And then Whiskey Exchange released their second one, I think actually back in March. Because Dawn Davis, the master of wine, or buyer from our point of view, said that she actually did a video of it. So that's when I realised, you're still releasing it during lockdown. Amazing. And I think the guys at Royal Mile also released their second one, but it's in conjunction with crumbs. Scottish Bar Company. And it's embarrassing I can't remember the name of it. That's going to annoy me. They own 3 bars as well.
As soon as we finish this podcast, it'll come to you.
I was going to say, I think it's Lucky Liquor, but I apologise if they're watching this. I might have got that wrong.
I'll edit it out, Dave. Don't worry. I'll edit it out for you.
So, who were the first two to take it on? Obviously, this year we were talking about it at the start of the year. Who would like to approach in regards to having the 70 seconds, go? But obviously, with COVID, that's not really happened. It's an investment. It's not a couple £100 sort of this program. It's depending on what you're having, it's going to cost. But the good thing is, for this year, we can obviously now include Clermont as well. Clermont have their own barrel program, so you can either choose between Chems Reserve or Clermont. So I'm looking forward to actually being able to do that. Money's a sort of terrible subject to talk about at the moment, when bars are obviously hemorrhaging money until we reopen. So it's nothing worse than saying, you want to put this 4-figure sum down for a barrel that you may sell in the next year or so when you're trying to get people back into your bar. It's not a conversation they intend to have anytime soon. So, but it's a very interesting thing because they're not 40% ABV rums. Some of them are cash strength in the mid to late 50s, early 60s even as well. And it's a whole different concept and focus towards St. Lucia distillers. And obviously Chems Reserve as a brand. We don't have overproof rums. But you can get in the UK at least. There is Penrose in St. Lucia. We should get in the UK soon. I'm badgering on about it. But we don't do cash strength stuff. And now we're edging towards that. 46% ABV was the highest we went for with 1931s. The Chems 2005 is 45%. We're getting higher and higher as we realise how valuable the water is to us in what it can do to the flavours. And this master selection is a great way of sort of testing the waters, while also making some amazing liquid as well.
I think for certainly for me and Jack, we're really excited about that sort of cask strength stuff because, like you said, we never kind of had any from St. Lucia that was cask strength before, and it's something that it's the kind of ABV that we really do enjoy. I think stuff that is around mid 50s to mid 60s is probably stuff that we kind of enjoy a bit too much, probably more than we should, certainly.
But that's the good thing though, because you want to enjoy it because it's a great first taste for the lips. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Simple as. And that's what sort of backs up what Gems are trying to do. Without preaching too much about the brand, it's sort of the reason why I have it as my favourite. I remember having it for the very first time. I remember buying that first bottle. It was a cash and carry in Stockport. It had just been sort of launched in the UK in 2008. I'm like, well, that's different. It's a short, stumpy bottle compared to the long, thin ones that everyone was used to with Bacardi and stuff. So it automatically looks different, and the liquid was so versatile, even though it's only 40% ABV. But I'm like, this is nice. It's not harsh. It's not got that funkiness that Jamaica has. So it was nothing like Appleton Estate, or the VX as it was back then. It wasn't as thin like Bacardi Superior as it was as well. It just had a beautiful sort of Irish whiskey feel. I love Jameson, so I could resonate to that. And with that, so it's obviously go to Forgotten Cask, where you got some more maturation towards it, to an understanding what Aberrodney can do, and also 1931s. And there's always something growing and growing and growing. Adding a port cask, adding a sherry focus, adding some sugarcane jutes, which will be coming out for our next Chems Reserve expression, which I won't tell you about now.
Nice.
Stuff like that. There's always something being added on, but in a way that we know would work, and we're not testing the waters and the boundaries too much to, not saying piss anybody off, but doing it for the hell of it to see what reaction it gets. We do a lot of marketing focus of, people like yourselves. The reason why I when I come in, what's missing? tell me you want some cask strength. Well, look at this. We're now heading towards the more cask strength ABVs. So we're always listening, and obviously with St. Lucia Distillers now more available around the world as well, compared to what it used to be in pre-2016. When we got essentially bought by Cross Bernard Hyatt, it's given us an opportunity to sort of say, Germans works really well in Southeast Asia, in Australia, in Africa as well, in the rest of Europe, in more states in the US. And obviously, as I'm sure you're aware, each country has a different profile and focus on what rum should be, and how Chairman's Reserve should be focused on and what expressions work better. Ours, spice rum's huge. It outgrows the sales of Chairman's Original when about 5 years ago, up way around. So even from our point of view, times are changing. So it's great to sort of listen to people and, I suppose, give an answer to that in the best way possible. So if you want cask strength, we're aiming towards cask strength profiles. People want to try something different with a bit of sugarcane juice, let's do it. But let's use the sugarcane juice that we're growing on our estates in the 5 acres that we've had since 2007. It's stuff like that. Not saying other brands can't do that, but it does help that we have everything up to hand in our own bit. For example, say Plantation, as long as I understand a lot of people can moan about it, but it's especially the whole GI in Barbados right now. But they are also doing a lot of pretty cool stuff, continental aging in cognac, but using the Isle of Fiji. That's a really good liquid, that. I'll tell you, I've got the brand I couldn't think of before. It's come out in the last couple of weeks. Isle of Fiji from Plantation. Beautiful liquid. And I'm the guy who's all about Chairman's Reserve, but I would drink that all day long.
We tried some, we went to, I don't know if you know the guys from the Main Rum Company.
You know what? Weirdly enough, never been. I need to go. I really need to go.
You would love it.
Yeah. So we went, Ian showed us around their warehouse and he gave us some Fiji rum. Was it it was quite old? It was like 14 or 12 years?
I think it was a bit older than that. I think it was pushing 20. Yeah.
It was
they're all Fiji.
Mind-blowing. It was like similar sort of funky kind of stuff to Jamaica, but just a bit different.
It had this weird element to it, didn't it? That it's just do you know when you get used to the kind of the general buzzwords when you do a tasting, and I don't know, you're thinking about your leather and I don't know, roasted pineapples or whatever, mango, I don't know, whatever. You had a sip of this rum and there was an element in it. There was something just a bit different that you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was, but it was. I'd never tasted anything like it before in a rum or any kind of other spirit for that matter. It was very interesting. And as Andy was saying, it had a kind of funkiness to it as well. It was something else. So I imagine that, it seems like there's some stuff more bits from Fiji popping up in recent times,
Used to be, yeah. I didn't know when I did a rum in a cask live. That's when I cracked open the bottle of the Plantation Isle of Fiji. I think it arrived the day before, maybe, something like that. And I thought, I'll wait till the live version. So obviously I can crack it open there and then. And also I did a bit of research prior to it, and there's no brands that I could see that originate from Fiji and have a presence here in the UK. It just seems to be very similar to Belize, for example, pre-Capali, granted, where you just have the odd bottling from Traveller's Distillery, and it's a single cask, or it's a mothballed something, and someone's refound some barrels, and it's been under the name of Velier, or someone's blended it with some Foursquare or something like that. That's all I can really find. There was no specific brand of Fiji rum that's now available in the UK, or doesn't seem to be in the past. So I was intrigued because the only other Fijian rum I had was a Plantation again, but within their Extreme range. And I think it came out about 3 years ago. I remember having it with Kirsty.
I remember that one, yeah.
About 56%, so a lot stronger than the Isle of Fiji one is. I think that's 40. But wow, it was I actually preferred that over the other number 2 Extreme, which is Diana. And I've got a sweet tooth, so Dianese in my mind on paper was going to win this no matter what.
Yeah.
The Isle of Fiji blew it out of the water. Diana was not as good as I thought it would be. So it's, that kind of proper funkiness. Yeah, I think that off my mind, that real tropical smack in the face as well.
Maybe we should start our own Fijian rum brand. Or is it South Pacific Distillers or something? The distillery.
Yeah. I don't know much about it. But I think with lockdown, it's given me some great opportunities to really look into these unknown islands that you won't normally suspect rum to be coming from. You know, if you talk rum, you think Jamaica, Barbados, Cuba, maybe Dominican, and obviously St. Lucia. Pretty much it. You know, obviously Martinique if you know your French as well. But you don't think Guadeloupe, so you don't think Damaso. You don't think Fiji, so you'd be surprised if Plantation brought something out from Fiji. Oh, it's like, oh yeah, they've had sugarcane in the past, or they've had distillers, but they're just not big enough to have an impact in the UK market. That doesn't necessarily mean they don't make anything anyway.
It always amazes me with rum producers like the foresight, you know, like the fact that they anticipate so far in advance where the kind of market's going to go and what's going to really kind of like pick up some steam with the general consumers out there. Like the fact that, you know, you've got I know you've got like the likes of Foursquare, for example, bringing out all the exceptional cask selection stuff, and they seem to be banging out like one every year, but all these rums are kind of like blends of, you know, everything that's almost pushing like double digits in terms of like maturity. So they've obviously been like stockpiling this stuff for a long time and keeping it to one side and playing around with how they're going to finish it or just what barrels it's going in general. The idea that someone can be, you know, sat there in 2010, 2005 thinking, right, we're going to start putting these together now, ready to fire them out there in the late, you know, 2010s. It blows my mind.
I think obviously I've been very privileged to talk to master blenders, especially in the islands themselves, and it's an interesting insight of how they perceive the future. Because as you say, you know, 5 years ago, if not even longer, of course, what we'd be saying right now that Manchester would have its own rum fest and these new brands every year want to get involved. I would never have said that. I would never say, yeah, we have a load of British rums in 4 years' time. That was never, in my mind, something that was going to happen. But then again, you never think that people would actually be drinking more rum. You know, I think 4 years ago, it was all about tequila. And prior to that, it was all about gin. So it's from our point of view, it's a trend. But how do the rum distillers and blenders themselves know what's going to happen? They don't. It's so difficult. I mean, I think the only thing they do, and I'm going off what St. Lucia Distillers, or what I see SLD do, is make the rum. Say it's Germany's there. That's been around since 1999. So, and it's an average age of 5 and 6 years old. So for 5 years, that barrel is not going to move. But was that barrel originally aimed for Cambridge Reserve? Well, SLD are blenders. You know, it's the reason why there's no age statement on their rums. So they probably already have the rum in production already. So they'll just use X amount of that, and bring it together. Hey, voila, we've got a brand new blend. If it doesn't work, we've not got thousands of barrels doing nothing. You know, we're just adding certain bits together. If it works, fantastic. We know then to focus the next batch of making something in that blend. Simple as. Now, it's risky, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a reason why there's a lot more limited editions coming out these days, especially like you say from Foursquare. You know, even from our point of view with the master selection, what seems to work, where we could do not say a minimum amount of work, but cost effective enough to try it and see how it responds. You know, perhaps Plantation out of Fiji won't have to respond to the Extreme version of Fiji. It makes a bit of sense in my mind. That sold better than the Guyanese. Maybe that's why they bought out of Fiji and not a Guyana version for their 40% ABV. I don't know.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's probably a lot more questions to ask that you're probably never going to get a response for. So, obviously, every brand will be different, of course, aren't they? You know.
Yeah,
to get inside the mind of masters or whoever makes these decisions. You know.
Especially in the day and age where obviously every brand, like obviously we, as an example, were bought by a new company, so they inherited everything that we'd made prior to 2016. And obviously, the master blender of Unis is still there. You know, you can still still works with us as master blender, but obviously his focus is now making new stuff like German 2005. That wasn't decided 14 years ago, but in 14 years from now we're going to produce something called German 2005. It's whatever stuff has been made in bulk that could taste amazing. So he knows what the barrels are going to taste like, what impartation the staves are going to put in. He knows what that still, the John Bull 1 flavour profile can offer. And then it's him and his experience and expertise. The reason why everyone says we're the 4th generation master distiller, it's in the family. Or he's been, 15 years shadowing the previous master blender. I mean, that's not a 24-hour thing, is it? 15 years of your life to hopefully be the next master blender. If you're going to be good at it or you're going to be shit at it. You're going to be shit at it, you're not going to spend 15 years of your life proving that, are you? So it's stuff like that. The 1931s, that's actually a really good example. Each one obviously is different, as you know. Each of the 6, 7 if you include the Chen's one that's out now, is a different blend. But they were never thinking, all right, so let's use a 12-year, because we've got several barrels of that, we're only going to release 1,000 bottles. So let's use that into that. Let's add a bit of port cast to this one. Didn't we do something with experimenting with sherry? Yeah, we got some barrel. All right, let's add a little bit of that in there as well. Let's see how it is. And now it's got to that famous feel of everybody wants all 6. And there's only a handful of people in the world I know who've got all 6, and I am one of them.
Of course you are. Shock. That's breaking news on this podcast.
That's the thing, though. It's so hard to plan ahead, but it's sometimes you don't need to. You just need to play with what you already have. And if it works, to start maybe adding a bit more to that batch so you can start playing with other ideas. But it's so difficult. I'd hate to be in that part of the industry to, planning ahead 20 years in advance. Same with whiskey. They'll be doing the same.
I was just going to say that it's nice when you hear about this kind of the time commitment and the expertise. It's really nice to see that certainly within rum, this kind of push for transparency and the premiumization, but it seems like a lot of people are doing it right, and they're doing right by the people that are taking all this time and putting all this passion into doing it. I think that the more people that understand that this much does go on behind the scenes and it's not all done in the same way, I think just it's kind of it's quite there's a bit more of a romantic element to it, when it seems like there's a lot more of that, passion that's being kind of poured into the process rather than it just being done kind of in a very automated way in bulk. Fire it out, make as much money as possible, rinse and repeat. The idea that there's people that are out there on an island somewhere essentially being apprentices for 15 plus years, and then and then when they finally do manage to create something and it goes across the world, and then there's someone sat as far away as we are from somewhere like St. Lucia, and we try some of that 2005 and you think, my God, that's a solid liquid.
It is. I think it's something I've sort of picked up. I mean, obviously, I know I don't own a brand, so I would say represent. But because I've been to St. Lucia and I've been to other Caribbean islands, I've seen these producers. I spoke to them. I spoke to the guys in the bottom line. Because they don't understand the impact of what they're doing right now. It's going to go to the UK. It's going to go to Smuggler's Cove. It's going to be used in an amazing cocktail. The reason why they're putting, make sure the labels are spot on in every single bottle is because what you're doing is selling it on the shelves, in the supermarkets, on the retailers, and selling lots of it, and it's keeping you doing it more. So, and they don't realise half the time because they never get told. They never go to the UK and see their finished product. Oh, I labelled that. But the last time you did that order. It doesn't happen because why would they? But until you tell someone, so, we actually sold a lot of these. That batch goes to the US or the UK or France. It's I'll go to 50, 60 different, retailers, never mind the bars. They're like, oh, really? Yeah. What you're doing is making a huge impact. So that's why I'm here right now. I work for you guys in the UK to sell the products you're putting together. They don't, I'm not saying they don't know it, of course, they probably do, but they don't realise until someone tells them. And I don't realise the effort and the passion they are doing, I can then relate to you guys at training sessions, or, you know, obviously you guys went to the Mai Tai comp last year, the final, you know, to sort of, you saw the kind of atmosphere it was because people want to go and check it out in real life. And I think that's the only way I can get across, not what I do just with Sailors Distillers of Clermont, but with Rumfest as well, and the bar when I had it. People believe you better if you've been. You've just got a photo, not saying from your phone, but just a generic photo of, yeah, this is our distillery. Oh, have you been? Nah. It's too far away. No, I'm going to go because I feel like you're going to trust me better if I can tell you other things about this that isn't just from a spreadsheet that was given years ago or something like that. It lacks a bit of romanticism about it. So I think that's one reason why I've sort of so dived into what I do as a living. You know, not just rum, but the other brands as well. You know, and to talk about a brand, you get the passion and that magic more better. It comes across more legit as well, I'd say. Especially when you're talking to consumers. There's so many brands out there now from a consumer point of view. You know, brands you can't even go and visit. When was the last time you can go and visit the Kraken distillery? I don't think there is one. You know, it's but everyone will still buy it. But if you give them an idea, oh yeah, German spiced, as an example, yeah, it's from this distillery. Oh, you know, this is the guy who makes it. You show a picture of Ennis or something like that, or this is Lennox. He makes sure that every bottle you make is going to be exactly the same every single time. They're like, wow, it's a real person. Yeah, it is a real person. Right. It's not done in someone's garage. It's not like a gin. You know, it's all that kind of. It's peeling away the layers and the veil of what people normally would expect it to be because of what they see on billboards, on social media. You know, obviously I look after the chairman's social media and I make sure there's always the odd post of this is our distillery. This is what we use to make our rum. This is the sugarcane we use. You know, this is what's going to be, you know, this is our port barrels that are in on 1931, that are in our, obviously, New Admiral Rodney. Like, oh, so much bigger than I thought. Yeah, because you won't ever see a barrel as a table at Liars Club.
All smugglers.
They don't see. They see what they see because they see what they get told. Simple as. And that's another reason why you guys are so good at what you do, because you actually want to understand the brand and you get your head around what it actually is, not what you have to sell. And that's what makes Smuggler's Code stand out to everybody else. That's what makes my Rumfest stand out to others. You know, I know Ian does exactly the same with the speakers he has. There's a reason why Richard Seal is always present at UK Rum Festival London, because he knows the kind of people there to ask the kind of questions and not talk to customers who are like, oh, I've already heard of Foursquare. Is that the same guys who do Cockspur? Or is that the same guys who do Malibu? You know, nothing against them, well, Malibu maybe, but nothing against Cockspur, but they just know it's a Barbadian rum. But they just presume there's only one distillery. So it's so many different things. To get that romanticism across to someone is difficult. If you've been, or you can show off your passion for it if you haven't been yet, that's perfect. That's exactly what people are after. Stand out.